From high-tech to the high concept of Invivo wines, Rob Cameron and Tim Lightbourne have known each other for 22 years. They came up with the concept of Invivo at a pub in London. Now, in 2012, they export their product to 13 countries. In the old school world of wine, Invivo are a new breed of winemaker. They are reinventing the core ideas behind what it means to be a winery.
I'm Rob Cameron, winemaker, co-founder of Invivo Wines. And we're here in my lovely cellar where we make all our Pinot Noir and our small handmade batches of wines for Invivo. Yeah, Invivo means in life. It comes from the Latin word, viva, and that's sort of something we wanted to really sort of get across in our brand, that wine's about enjoyment, it's about having fun in your life, it's about sharing with your friends and family and taking some of that sort of old world European sort of wine integration into society and sort of bring that into our brand in a really sort of fun and innovative way. Yeah, well, Tim and I were working in Europe, and as many Kiwis do, we were starting to think about coming back home, and we looked at our respective career options, and we thought, well, you know, with all our experience and sort of lessons that we learned while working in Europe, that if we teamed up and pulled our sort of resources, we could do something really interesting and really different. So we got together and we thought, well, let's start a wine brand.
And then when we started to launch Invivo, we didn't, you know, this sort of recession came, you know, the banks was quite tough at that time. And also there was a lot of wine produced in that year in 2008, so it was a sort of a perfect storm for us to head straight into. But what I would say is it taught us a lot, and I think we sort of improved by being quite prudent with everything, really.
You know, it's easy to make wine, it's hard to sell it. So I think the challenge has been the long road to building our brand, and we're nowhere near to the end of it yet. It's a continual process where you're working every day to meet people and get our wines in front of people and sort of show what we can do and prove that the quality that we've got and get people excited about what we do.
Suddenly you've got this product and you need to sell it. In the wine industry, you've got new vintages coming on every year, so you need to make sure that the wine sells through. In export markets, in terms of getting into Australia and countries like, you know, China or Taiwan or UK, it's easier to sell to your mates here in New Zealand, but you try and sell on the streets of China or Taiwan, so it's getting traction in these markets as well. So that's quite challenging. There's quite a lot of, you know, getting out there and burning the old shoe leather, walking around and tasting in stores and things like that. So that's quite a big challenge for us.
We literally went to every shop that stocked our wines, and we stood in stores and we did tastings, and you know, we did letter drops in areas we thought would buy our wines. We did just about anything possible just to get our brand in front of people. These
boxes were produced by a New Zealand street artist crew called TMD Crew. We've been working with them for about 2 years. We sponsor the group. They're actually the world champion of graffiti, so they've won it a couple of times. They win that to actually travel over to Germany for that. These ones are by Mark Hinare, and sort of really nice Māori designs on it. And you can imagine the wine journalists or some of our customers in Japan, for example, just getting this. It's just a little bit different from sending our wine in just a cardboard box or a bag or something like that. So they've been super popular.
You can't afford to be still, otherwise you're going backwards. So, you know, from a business side of things, you have to take the risks and you have to take those leaps, you know, even if they cost you in the short term, because you've got to believe that, you know, in the longer term you're going to get the results, and you know, that's worked for us so far, and we continue to push it and try new things, and I think that's the only way to really sort of succeed, especially in today's, you know, really tough kind of economic environment.
Yeah, we're official wine supplier to the Graham Norton show, and that was something started about a year and a half ago, when I read that he actually liked New Zealand wine. So I rang up the show in the UK and said, we're a New Zealand wine producer. We'd love to send him some wine to see what he thinks of it. So we sent him a case of our Sauvignon Blanc, and they got back to us and said, he loves your wine. He wants to do something with the show. So we struck a bit of a deal where we would supply wine for the show every week when it's filming. As long as we could say we're the wine sponsor for the show. And they invited us actually to the show, and we went along. They had Snoop Dogg and Cuba Gooding Jr. and Al McPherson. It was a brilliant show, and Cuba Gooding was just knocking back our wine, so it was quite good to see. We got the likes like Johnny Depp and Madonna taking home Invivo. So yeah, I don't know if it goes to the entourage or whatever, but the idea is that one of those guys with 30 million followers will tweet, "I'm drinking Invivo Sauvignon Blanc." So yeah, it's been a great partnership.
And I get a real big kick out of, a really sort of big, broad customer base, from, young people to older people to, guys, girls, whatever. I get a really big kick out of, a really, huge sort of population drinking and enjoying our wines. That's sort of the ultimate goal. You're making wines for people to enjoy. It's about pleasure. So.
Yeah, I mean, if the wine wasn't good, it wouldn't work, right? So they both have to work off each other. But the marketing side of things, we thought it was important, just with so many labels and on shelf. Like, we didn't want to be another river or a hill or a mountain or a lake label, right? We wanted something that really stood out. And people would see Invivo on the shelf, oh, that's those two guys, yeah, they're up to that, or they sponsor that local artist here in Sydney or in London or Japan or whatever. And it was really taking some ideas from other categories. So my background was working at L'Oreal and a couple of other FMCG companies, and taking those ideas and putting it into the wine industry to support the brand. So this means something. There's a lot of labels that people would think, oh, that's just another wine, but we want this to stand out and mean something to people.
It's a great combination. We can't really do one without the other. I can make the best wines in the world, but if we can market them innovatively and well, no one would buy them, and vice versa. If you've got a great brand and a great looking product, but if it doesn't taste that good, it doesn't work. So it's a really good combination. We work really well together.
So we are travelling pretty much every month to a different country. We're standing in stores. Last year, at the end of last year, I spent 6 weeks in the UK. I went up and down the country 3 times, tasting in stores every day around the place. So we're quite active, because we realise that the market's so competitive that we need to be out there and be the face of the wine and be meeting our customers around the place.
Cash flow is absolute key. Cash is king in any business, and with wine, you've got such a long time before your raw product gets turned into a saleable, marketable, good. And then when you're exporting, it's another couple of months on top of that. So things like cash flow, working capital, foreign exchange is a huge part of our business, and the ANZ National have been fantastic. They've got a great team I speak to probably daily, and it's taken a lot of risk out of our business and just made sure we don't have to worry about losing a lot of money on foreign exchange. And if you're not careful, you can get into quite a lot of financial difficulty just by that alone when you're exporting. And we export to 12 countries around the world and lots of different currencies. So it's a really important part of the game.
Initially, back in 2008, we approached 4 or 5 banks, and the ANZ was the only bank that would help us out. So we really appreciate them. We work really closely with them. Last year we won Emerging Exporter of the Year for what the countries that we sell in and some of the activities. We invited our bank manager to the awards. He came out with us afterwards with the trophy. So it's that type of relationship. But and they help us with their teams as well. They have our foreign currency team. We work in 5 different currencies, so they're helping us out. They're quite proactive. It's not just sort of us approaching them all the time and say, what do you guys look at this, or have you thought about this model for you guys? So they've been very good.
With Invivo, we knew pretty quickly that we had to be pretty flexible, pretty dynamic, make wines that people wanted to drink. And as a winemaker, you have to kind of check your ego at the door. It's not about you, it's not about your personal preferences for wine, it's about thinking about how other people drink your wine, how they perceive your wine. So, it's kind of maybe a slightly different approach from the old traditional style, particularly in Europe, where the winemakers were sort of the gods of the estate. I look at it more of sort of, we're working for our customers. I'm responding to what they say. And when we're out in the market tasting with them, we're listening. Do you like that aspect of our wines, or don't you like that aspect of our wines? And then each year we're sort of going back to the drawing board and saying, okay, well, people like that style, or they didn't, let's change it. Does this market like this style? Does that market like that style? So, it's really about being adaptable, flexible, and making what people want to drink.
2 years ago, for example, we launched a low-calorie, lower-alcohol Sauvignon Blanc called Belle by Invivo, and we literally can't make enough of that stuff. It's just flying out the door. And that was New Zealand's first ever wine to put a nutritional panel on the back. We actually nickname it Cougar Juice, so it's been a positive wine.
Yeah, winemaker is a pretty broad term, and that's why I got into wine, because it's such a varied job. Some days you're here digging grapes out of a tank, and the next day you're in London at the biggest wine fair in the world, you know, meeting wine journalists and influential wine buyers and that sort of thing. So it's pretty much everything in between, and that's why I love it. I'm never stuck in an office for too long. I get to travel around the world, I get to travel around the country, meet lots of people. It's just a really varied, broad, challenging job. It's great, I love it.
Sell now in 13 countries in the world, but it's always good to come back to the local.
The club, Mangawai Bowling Club, one of our first stockists, and still a good customer. Beauty. Oh,
Cheers.
cheers, mate. Cheers.